Hello everyone, this is Jasmine aka Gladiatorinsweats, and I'm here with a collective message for today, Monday, September 24th, 2018, as well as a message for the full moon, the harvest full moon in Aries today as well. So first off, I just want to say thank you for tuning in, and that I hope this, as always, is reaching y'all well, that we're all starting the week all right. I guess I just wanted to come in just and say, at least for myself, that yesterday, I'm recording this as of Monday, so this was Sunday. Sunday was really rough. It was really triggering, honestly. The whole weekend and really the whole past week or so, it's been like a few people have mentioned, like Trigger City, where it just feels like every little prick and every little thing is just so overly sensitive to where, like, I don't know, it kind of feels like my everyday kind of feel where everything has always felt so sensitive, but it feels just like overly sensitive to where it's just almost hard to not even react. It's hard to not, immediately move into those automatic, like, responsive loops that we can fall into. And I guess that's just how I personally feel. And I mean, it just comes to mind, which I didn't do a daily upload yesterday or anything, but I believe Mars started to conjunct or is conjunct or beginning to, transit the South Node once again. And so I feel like it's part of that Mars and Uranus square that started taking place. And I feel there's just a lot of this activity taking place within the Mars and the South Node area, but just in the Aries spectrum and in general, because we have Mars being triggered and activated, as well as Aries, the energy, with the fact that we have this full moon taking place there, loosely conjunct Chiron as well. So there's just a lot of this fire and raw passion, and I feel it's really ultimately asking and imploring us to accept and not just tap into, as I often can say, but fully embrace our authenticity and our realness, all parts of it, all parts and all things that encompasses. So yeah, just getting into it, I guess, more so with the galactic signature and all of that awesome stuff. Before I get into the full moon reading, because honestly, I was gonna do this in two separate videos, but the daily message resonates so much with this energy for several reasons. So first off, the galactic signature is the red galactic moon, and as if you've been paying any or following me for a minute now, I've been talking about how right now we are in this red cosmic moon year, and we just had this red moon wave spell that we went through, and now we're having what I feel is kind of this culmination point with this full moon here with this red moon energy once again. And so it's again feeling like we're going full force into our realness. As I've been talking about, we've been peeling back all of these layers, and it hasn't been it's been fun to me in a way where it's also been painful. It's also been heavy. It's also just been very where just as there have been some high or some what I would consider highs for us, there have been plenty of lows, and I feel like that's kind of what I wanted to touch on, because as much as I do feel there's an amazing amount of clarity that is to be received as we go through, all of these cosmic storms, as I've been terming them, it's not easy, to just put it very, very, like, simply, but that's so basic. Like, it's just talking about it is just so much more different when we're like really in the thick of it. So I don't really want to try and make it super flowery and be like, it's just so amazing. Like, these times are definitely rough. It's rough in the sense that, like, our egos are really not even, I don't even want to say put into check, but it's like we're really having to be completely honest with ourselves in a way that it's not that we weren't forced to or weren't, capable of or anything like that before, but it's like there's really nothing to hide behind. That's really kind of what it is. It's like there's really nothing to so much hide behind anymore. So you kind of having to, like, the way I'm just picturing in my mind is just like we're standing in the middle of a big field. There's no trees. There's nothing to stand behind. There's nothing. We can't really hide behind anyone else's shadows. We're only standing within our own light and our own, our own essence, and that's really just what I feel here. And I'll go ahead and include the code as I have been, and I actually want to read it because as I had mentioned, this is something that you can just read and kind of meditate on. It's not necessarily something to like logically piece together and make sense, but something to more feel within the heart and tap into it that way. But I do want to go ahead and read it because, again, I feel like this is all tying into the message for the full moon and what it is that we're collectively releasing at this time. So, I harmonize in order to purify. Modeling flow, I seal the process of universal water with the galactic tone of integrity. I am guided by the power of space. And so, ultimately, what I even get from that is, even as part of modeling flow, that part really sticks with me because, again, as I was talking about, when we first started this galactic moon year, that this whole year, this whole process is for us to really learn, for us to get back into the flow. And it's the more of the universal flow, because we've got ourselves, I don't want to say trapped, but we've got ourselves stuck in not just these loops, but these habitual patterns and routines that aren't conducive to our multidimensionality. It really keeps us locked in a box, no pun intended, when we're talking about 3D, right? But yeah, like, we're really, again, harmonizing in order to purify. We're really channeling and tuning in, and we're really flowing with this so that we're able to, again, purify. We're able to come back to center, come back to source. And even as it's talking about this universal water, when we're talking about, again, the oneness of source, the oneness of water, and integrity, as I was talking about being in our authenticity, the fact that there is no real, like, objective truth, but the objective truth is that all of our truths is truth. It's like, it's really interesting how all of this is really coming together for us to acknowledge that our truth and our power is because we are, because we exist, because we experience, because whatever it is that you feel like defines, not even to say defines you, but when we talk about I am, the I am presence, when we talk about that sort of vibration, frequency of source, and then coming and recognizing our unique divinity, our own unique like soul print, if you will. And that's really what I feel is like us getting to the bottom of, even as I'll include the harmonic here as well, of the spectral process. Formulate free will of liberation, and the codon of the people triumph. Conduct unifies the way. I mean, both of these together, it's just like, even if you just go off just like face value, it's like liberating ourselves through, our own conduct, through our integrity. Even the question for today, when it's asking us, do we live what we believe? Commanding integrity. And this is, the process with this harmonic, which goes over the course of 4 days. But I feel this is really this whole process that's going over, this full moon cycle as you bring in this next new moon cycle. And so, just to do the card that I pulled for the daily, again, as I was saying, do we live what we believe? And the card that I pulled, it was really interesting. I pulled the Ace of Cups in reverse. And so I actually take this as not really like as a big fat no, but it's like, this is acknowledging that there's an emotional upheaval needed here, that there are some blocked or repressed emotions that are needing to be acknowledged. And that's ultimately, I feel, the purpose of not just this whole year, but really as we're tuning into this full moon energy, I feel like that's really what this whole process is about, is this emotional upheaval, peeling back these layers. And I feel like this part is kind of felt like maybe some of the most painful peeling of layers, maybe the most raw of wounds having to be brought to light here. And so yeah, that's really what concludes just the daily message that I have. But to really round it off, as I said, I did want to pull some messages for the full moon because I just really felt that this was important, and just all of the talk in the communities, as well as this being like this key jump off point, if you will. So I even just want to talk a little bit even about the insight degrees, as I've been talking about the book by, I always forget his name, I believe it's Elias Lyonsdale, but I will read a little bit of my notes for this these degrees. First at 2 degrees Aries and then 2 degrees Libra, because again, since this is a full moon, we have this opposition going on, and I feel like it's important to kind of talk about both of these a little bit. So the key points I feel here about this Aries at 2 degrees is that, again, we're up against our own formidable barriers. We're up against our own aspects of our quote unquote lower self. I only say quote unquote because the whole like higher and lower, that whole like terminology doesn't really resonate with me. But I believe that you will understand what I'm saying when I'm talking about these aspects of like our ego and things of that nature, of our personality. And this is really adolescence in its most naked terms, but very hard to outgrow. And I really like that key part because it's like, I think that's something that most of us can definitely resonate with that feeling of adolescence, when you feel like you know everything, when you feel like you've got it all figured out, that nobody can tell you anything, right? Like, and it's I guess it's comical, but it's just, I guess it maybe would help to kind of hold that sense of comic relief, I guess, as we roll through, these releases, because I feel like there's these shields and this armor of like just being tough and being like, it's like this opposition of, well, as long as I've got haters and there's someone opposing me, that I must be right, and we're going to keep charging through, like that very just like Mars, and I'm just going to keep going, and like just that kind of energy. It's like that I feel we're really having to kind of shed it a little bit, where we're kind of having to not be so almost like tyrannical about it, and really having to like not just slow down, but having to even reevaluate like the whole like root from where we're coming from things, like. And I feel this will make a lot more sense when I round this off with the card that I have for the collective. And so moving into just the 2 degrees Libra, where the sun is at, because 2 degrees Aries is where the moon is at. So again, that's what's really going on within our emotional realm, within the spiritual, like within like our non-physical, like what we're definitely feeling, but it maybe isn't showing so much on the outside that way. But I do feel like it definitely is, especially when it's talking about at 2 degrees Libra, transformation being this constant at all levels, and feeling, as I was talking about earlier, feeling the greatest anguish and loss, as well as, the hugest elation and bursts of freedom. And that's, I feel like, what I was talking about as, we're hitting these really high, like, valleys and peaks with not just our emotions, but like with our clearing. We're really digging deep, and I'm even imagining it just like a shovel. Like, the deeper you dig with a shovel, it's like the harder and like the higher you have to kind of lift to get that dirt up. That's kind of how I'm seeing like our highs and lows right now, as we're really doing this deep sort of like quote unquote purging and reset. And again, feeling into these planetary cycles and changes. Like, and I feel this, like, we're seeing this, I feel like we're experiencing this with our, like, community, with the people that we're interacting with. Like, I feel there's definitely a feeling of change within, like, our own relationships, on all levels, as well as personally and, within ourselves. And this last part that I feel is destiny obsessed, and I feel like that's definitely what this feels. Even as for the bottom of the deck, when I get into the cards that I put for the collective with this Wheel of Fortune, I definitely am seeing this as like we're a lot of us, and maybe it's kind of normal for those of us that are actively on our spiritual path, or do this work regularly, or whatnot. Those of us that like interact in this work or community or what have you on a regular basis, but just like everyone's getting lit up, just wanting to find their purpose and wanting to do what makes them most happy, and like people being like woken up and being like, you know what, like, yeah, this job pays well, but like I'm not happy. And not even just in their jobs, but their relationships, and where they live, and the friendships that they continue to settle for. And it's just a lot. There's just a lot where we're just feeling so focused on our paths in whatever way that means or takes shape. So yeah, I definitely feel this is, again, about allowing ourselves to be taken into this storm, so that we're able to transform and close some cycles permanently, as well as enter into some new, not just beautiful ones, but some very, I guess, destiny focused ones. So the question that I really pose, or I really posed two questions, because I pulled one card from the Morgan Greer deck, as well as one from the Galactic Heritage cards. So from the tarot deck, the question I asked was, how can we stay true to our core desires and feelings without feeling compromised? And so I mentioned the bottom of the deck card earlier, which was the Wheel of Fortune card, but the actual card that I did pull was the Eight of Wands, and both of these beautifully together. I love this for us, definitely letting us know to go with the flow of this dynamic action and change that is taking place for all of us on many levels, to make the moves as the divine timing, makes itself known to us. And, acting as we feel called, jump and be swift, do what it is that we feel called to do, and I don't want to say necessarily don't think about it, but I feel this more as like, when we feel that call to action, that we will know it, and we will just move. And maybe this isn't necessarily like some big grand gesture, but I'm just seeing this as like the energy moves through to almost like clear the clouds out of this Eight of Wands. It's saying, when this energy comes in, to do something with it. And that's definitely what I feel here. But what I really, really loved, because I wanted to close this with, I guess, the best for last. The card that I pulled from the Galactic Heritage card deck was, I ultimately wanted to know what we were collectively releasing at this time, Because again, like with the fact that this is conjunct Chiron and it's very much near the Aries point, there's just a lot of this talking about not just reset, but I feel collective reset. Again, with even the fact that we have the sun trying the south node and Mars energy, there's just a lot of this just setting us up to really make the best of this energy. And so I actually want to read a few parts from the passage for the card that I pulled. And the card that I did pull was Way Showing. And I actually really love this. And maybe it doesn't make too much sense with the phrase just way showing. But what we're releasing here is, our fear of stepping into our power and stepping into, our way of showing. So yeah, let me go ahead and just read this. So, in the ancient past, Syrians were conflicted about being leaders or staying hidden. They saw this as an either-or situation. Now that they have evolved, they realize that being a leader is not an aggressive or controlling role. True leaders lead from the heart, without ego desire, and from a clear sense of inner direction that is aligned with universal consciousness. In an ancient past, you were also conflicted about this issue. But now is the time to release this karmic pattern and no longer have fear of being a leader or a way shower. You don't have to do anything to lead. Simply being is enough. And, I really just wanted to highlight that part because that's what I was talking about, or what I have been talking about through these past couple weeks of, us embodying what it is that we, desire for ourselves, tuning into the frequency of what we wish to feel in our future, what it is we wish to see, in our experience, what it sounds like, what does it taste like, really delving into what is that experience, what is that experience for us, and what would it feel like when we are being that energy. And not just that, but of acknowledging that as we're starting to release, or not even just release, the idea of competition, and I feel like that's definitely something that's a long process, but this idea of leaders, as all of us have been kind of tapping into our own sense of leadership, we're having to also battle with that whole like power over, power under dynamic of, well, if there's a leader, there has to be a follower, right? And again, that's that either or situation that we're really having to deal with. We're really having to I don't even want to say like accept, but I think like a nuanced way of even looking at it is, as the passage will say, everyone is a teacher in their own right, as well as everyone is a student. We're all teachers of something different. We all have, some specific, key or code or lesson that, the rest of us or another person is able to access through you or through that person. And so, it's not about, this, you got to be this supposed like quote unquote best or whatever it is that you desire to do. You just have to be willing and come from your heart, and it's doing what you feel called to do and feel most desire, like you just feel hardwired to do that thing that really gets your heart going, and in turn gets other people's hearts going. But yeah, let me go ahead and just finish this off with the last pieces from this passage. So I did want to just highlight the fact that it's talking about Sirius, and as I feel like I had mentioned maybe a couple months back about this Syrian energy, not just being tapped into, but it's coming through very clearly for us. We're all aligning, not all of us, but I guess I feel it's, all of us, like we're aligning with this energy to where we're not just tapping into these timelines, but we're clearing a lot of this stuff. So, yeah, let me go ahead and read this. This is an era of enlightened serious consciousness. To successfully evolve, Syrians had to heal some of their deepest fears, and one of these fears was about leadership and its responsibilities. They resisted this role, but soon realized that it was part of their spiritual path. They eventually accepted it with gratitude for being allowed to be of service. So, if we pulled this card, it most likely means that we have leadership qualities. It may be asked of us to use those qualities now. Recognize that being a leader or a teacher can be subtle. It may be a leader or teacher in your family or community. And do not fear this ability within you, but at the same time, do not force it to manifest. The best leaders are those who don't necessarily want to lead, but simply lead by example. Another possible meaning is that you might be attached to the idea of becoming a leader, and this desire is coming from ego rather than your true self. In order to know which, if any, of these options is the correct interpretation, go honestly within yourself to find that answer. So, the simplified message. Every being is a leader and teacher for others, and as we all embrace this role, we also have to embrace the responsibilities that come with that role. Integrity, impeccability, responsibility, and authenticity. And so, all in all, that just speaks again to what I was talking about as we are embracing not just who we are, but we're embracing the part of our quote unquote purpose or goal or mission to be a way sure. And again, as I said, in whatever way that manifests for us, or whatever way that we came in wanting to show. So, I guess I just ultimately want to close this off with, hopefully the clarity and confirmation that, we're taking flight, honestly, at this point. It's all of the cards, and not just the cards, but all of this energy that I've been feeling and all of that we've been going through is ultimately like we've been testing it, like test driving, and now it's like we're gonna have to start flying soon. And I feel like this is maybe even speaking to Jupiter eventually being in Sagittarius pretty soon, or relatively soon, as right now it's actually finishing the last decade of Scorpio. So I guess that's really it. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, I'm always so appreciative for all the love and support because I really enjoy doing these. And I guess before I close it off, I do just want to update on a little bit of like the video schedule. Not that I'm sure if anyone's really paying that much attention, but if you are, I am going back again to doing the dailies on Instagram because it's just getting to where I don't really have I don't want to say not the time, but I often have other priorities to where I'm not able to record a video as I would like. And so you don't have to have an Instagram account because I know not everyone uses Instagram. That's actually why I've included the link in the description box, so you can actually just access it through the website. And my page is public, so there should be no issues or hassles with trying to access that information or any of the messages through there. But that's actually where I'm looking to post the daily content, or just the content that doesn't make it on a video or doesn't make it more frequently on YouTube, because I'm wanting to focus on making my videos more of quality. And not that they're not of quality now, but I don't want to put strict limitations on when a video has to be put out or any of that. I just doing things more in the flow and when it feels creatively right for me. So I'm just switching to doing less of the YouTube uploads, but I'm posting things pretty regularly on Instagram. So as usual, you can check me out there, and all the links to all of that stuff will be in the description box, as well as where to reach me for readings and whatnot. I am actually in the process of reformatting my readings and whatnot. Ultimately, I I don't even really like calling them just readings, because I feel like they're ultimately sessions, and I feel that's where I'm best is with counseling, intuitive counseling, as well as really getting to the heart of the matter. Uh, I mean, I can do, the, like, I don't even want to, like, use the word mundane, because I guess the negative connotation, but, I guess my focus is really on helping people to bring more of the spiritual into their regular life, because I feel that's, what we're having the difficulty with, and incorporating more of the feminine and the, the non-physical into our physical. And so that's kind of what I've been focused on. But not just that, as I had mentioned before, of even really wanting to dig deeper into the galactic heritage, and providing more of that content for you guys too. So I guess all that a long way to say, stay tuned for any updates going on with my social media or my website and things like that. So, yeah, thank you so much if you listen to this thing all the way through. So, as usual, I hope you guys stay blessed, and I send you guys so much love. I hope that this full moon cycle and phase, you know, not necessarily just treats you well, which I guess I don't mean to laugh, but it's just like, I know that it feels like so rough. And so, as ultimately, I just want to say that, to not necessarily stay strong, but to take care of ourselves, to rest when we need to, to take a break, or, take a moment to ourselves to recenter when we need to, not necessarily to try and, sidestep any of the self work that is, being called to do right now, but make sure that you take care of yourself. There's no like rush, or there's no like right or wrong way to go about any of these phases or cycles. So, yeah, just be nice to yourself, and know that ultimately things will come to pass. And not just that, but that the work is honestly already ultimately done, and we're just in the process of getting there in this current now, in this process and reality of time that we live in. So, yeah. Yeah. So, without further ado, as always, much love and many blessings. And until next video, peace.